all her memories and all the facts and history of the family. Ricky Hart and myself have always talked about doing it, maybe in the form of some kind of a book or something. But I thought about it with my wife Diane, and we thought this might be an even better way because it's a little bit more. Well, it's quite a bit more. I think it's quite a bit more exciting because you get to see and hear the stories as they're actually told, and we all hope you enjoy it. And Lord only knows how far this tape's going to go, but we hope that whoever does see it in the future will appreciate all the information and all the love that we hope comes across in Nana telling all the stories. And well, without further ado, I'm going to go down to 241 Allen Street and begin. So the next thing you see will be Nana, and we'll have a little introduction there, and we'll just turn her on and let her go. See you in a few seconds. Well, Nana, here we are, down at 241 Allen Street, and why don't you just, you said you were going to tell me about
Where they came from?
where they came from.
Well, they came after they were married, had George, about 6 months old, and they decided that they came to the States first,
Now, where do they live over in England?
Padfield.
Whereabouts is that, do you know?
It's in Lancashire, Lancashire, I think.
Lancashire, yeah.
Not positive, I think so.
Yeah.
And
Now, do you know roughly when they came? Well, Nana, I think we lost a little bit of tape.
you what?
We lost a little bit of the tape for some reason.
What part did you lose?
You know, and it's not working right now either. Oh, yes, it is.
Well,
You know what I think happened when I took the
where was it?
cable off there?
You can't tell where I was when...
Well, I can tell where you were. When were you born?
1893.
1893. Okay. And I hate to do this to you, Nana, but
Isn't doing me any harm. The other
No, I
one's
know.
doing harm.
but we were talking about you know, your family coming
I was
over.
going to tell you, my Aunt Maggie, she didn't have any children either. I don't know.
Now, this is your father's?
My father's youngest sister,
Yeah.
Aunt Maggie, she died, she died since I was over there, but I can't tell you how many years she's been. And her husband did too. But she willed the house to Doris's son and daughter.
Yeah.
Doris's son.
Doris
There's
is.
two sons. Doris, this is the one I got this letter from now.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I forgot what I was talking about now.
Well.
My memory's not so good as it used to be.
Uh-huh.
I can remember everything when I'm trying to go to sleep at night. I can go a whole 2 hours of reminiscing.
When you're
Where was I?
well, just one more time for
The record.
for the record. You were talking about how your parents brought your brother George over, right? He was 6 months old.
Yeah.
And that they came to Lowell first.
They came around that direction somewhere because her two sons and daughter.
Yeah.
Two sons. Neither one of them had any children, and the daughter never got married. And
Now, whose two sons?
Aunt Elizabeth.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Elizabeth. See, that she was my mother. She was the one that came over a widow with my father and my mother. With my father and my mother. Of course, I wasn't born then. They used to come down about once in 3 or 4 years and visit us. And I can remember the gifts she used to bring down. And I remember the dolls they sent to us, the little and I from England. she sent me one pink about like that there, and my mama wouldn't let us play with them. She hung them in the corner on the wall, and then the next year she sent little one. Of course, after that there was so many of us, she didn't. Nobody ever, you know. There was 2 deaths in between there.
Yeah.
See, one was called Maggie and one was called Ruth.
Yeah.
My mother's 2 sisters. They always kept the names all in the family. Jerry said one day, "Where did you get Ruth for me?" Her name is Geraldine Ruth.
Yeah.
I said, "Well," I said, "I had an aunt, I had a sister, and Maggie." I didn't have any Maggies in my family.
Who are you named after?
I'm named after my Mary Ellen, my name is.
Yeah.
I'm named after my mother's mother and my father's mother.
They both had the same name?
No, Mary, one was called
Oh.
Mary and one was called Ellen. That's what I put together. They put together and they called me Mary Ellen, but they always called me Nellie for a nickname.
Yeah.
N-A-L-L-Y, they always spelled my name.
Oh, yeah?
I can remember that. They'd always send me Christmas cards and everything like that there. I was a little kid then. That's what we used to do on rainy Sundays. Mama would pull out the drawer out of the thing and put all these Christmas cards. And every time anybody died in the family, we always got a letter with a black thing all around it. You ever remember those in the post office? You don't? You know that song, the letter edged in black?
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's made from that there. And if anybody in the family would die, why, we'd always we know somebody was dead because of a letter with a black
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I
band
remember,
all around it.
Yeah.
If you remember that so well. Who's that? Oh, that's you. Oh, my goodness. It's showing you now.
What are you doing, Greg?
Great country, huh?
I made 20 of those in 2 weeks. All colors and everything.
Yeah. So let's just, if we can go over the old ground for a second.
Now, where we
Well,
start?
we were talking about how when your mother and father came over and they brought George, and that they went from Lowell up to Marysville.
I went to Marysville through, because I don't know why they moved down there. They knew somebody that had a good job in that
In
Canadian
Marysville?
cottons in
In the mill.
Marysville, see?
Yeah.
And that's the reason they went down there.
Mhm.
And they liked it so much. And they had a double brick house, you know. The whole town, except on one side of the river. Were you ever in Marysville?
Yeah, yeah.
It's all wooden houses, and all, you know, all the Marysville
You know,
part
Mud
is all brick houses.
That's Mud Alley, right?
Well, Morrison Street.
Morrison Street, all right, in Marysville, right?
What's Mud Alley?
Better known as
And we
Mud
don't
Alley.
talk about
That's what
that.
they used to call it before they put the sidewalks on. They used to call it Mud Alley.
Oh, yeah?
And every place there was no sidewalks. I can remember when they put the electric lights in Marysville.
Yeah.
That was the year that I had written the high school entrance papers, and they always come out. They never sent the word to you. They always put it in the Gleaner. And around the middle of July, everybody got the Gleaner anyway. That was the daily newspaper. And I can remember why when the newspaper come out, our names had all come out in the paper, you know, all the ones that passed. You had to take a government examination to get into high school down there.
Yeah.
You didn't take one from your school teacher, you took one from the superintendent of the schools.
Mhm.
And I can remember he was the tallest man, and his name was Bridges. And I can remember he'd walk up and down the aisles all the time. We was writing those exams.
Yeah.
Walk them down the aisle. There's no fooling around down there. I'm telling you. What you got? And then you'd look at it, you'd chase that paper for almost all of July. When it comes, somebody would call up and say, well, they didn't have telephones in then. There was only one telephone. We used to go to the doctor's office to use a telephone. That what you got, what degree you got. You know, you could enter the high school if you was over a certain mark. I don't know whether it was 300 something or 400 something. You had to have those marks. You couldn't get into high school at all.
Yeah. That's like they do it in England,
Didn't
right?
go, yeah. Well, I don't know what they did in England. This was down in Marysville.
Mhm.
We had a good school system down there, and don't you forget yourself. There's no
Mention
fooling around
Canada,
down
right?
there.
Huh?
Did she ever say Canada? Do they know where
Oh,
Marysville is?
we know we're in Canada. We know we're in Canada, right? So anyway, your family grew up in Marysville,
We all grew up in Marysville, every
Yeah.
one of us.
and after you were born, who came along after you?
Rose, she went to business college,
Yeah.
and
How about Lil?
Lil was a teacher.
No, but I mean, in order of birth.
She was next to me.
Yeah.
That's the reason we were so chummy together. Lil and I were always so chummy together. We said before because, you see, there was such a space between Rose. I don't think Rose ever went to St. John until after she got married. When she got married, she lived down there.
Yeah.
But
And then after.
and Albert, he went to business college. He
Yeah.
fooled around for quite a long while, and in high school, and so did Frank. See, Mama died when they were both in high school, and Albert didn't finish high school. He went to business college, but Frank, he went to the States.
Yeah.
When Papa and I was in England, he moved up to the States. He could. Rose Lil got him all ready through the immigration and everything, and he come up to stay with George up here because in the meantime George had come back from overseas, and he used to be a streetcar conductor, see, and he didn't like being a streetcar conductor. He didn't like it very well, so he come up to the States with a lot of these people weren't up here there, but they all
Lottie was
came
his
up
wife?
later on. Lottie's the one that lives down in Quincy.
Yeah, and that was George's wife, right?
That's George's wife. She used to come up to our place an awful lot when she lived in St. John before she ever moved up here.
Yeah.
And Mum and her, I don't know, were awful good friends, and Mum would tell her everything. She wouldn't tell me anything. I'm telling you, anything I want to know, I'll call up Lottie and I'll say, such a thing is this or that. She'll tell me. She knows all the story.
Yeah.
So when did George go back in the army then?
He was at 4.5 years in the First World War. And then after he come home and work was so terrible, he went and joined in the reserve, joined up in the reserve. And he was in there for a long time in there. He come back and forth up here, even after Lottie moved up here. After he was up here, the work wasn't very plentiful. Do you remember they had that thing that, what did they call that?
WPA?
WPA. And he didn't like that there, and he went back down and went in the reserve down in St. John, and he was down there. Well, Lottie had her 4 children, and then he come back and forth. And you know when he come back up the last time, was come home retired, and come home. He wasn't home a weekend. He dropped dead. Well, he didn't exactly drop
This
dead.
is in Canada?
No,
Yeah.
Quincy.
Quincy.
Down in Quincy. No, they were living in Quincy, and then they were living in Cambridge.
Yeah.
And then they moved down to Quincy, down there. They
Do you
bought
remember
a
how long
house.
ago that was?
What?
Remember when that was, when he died?
Yes, the very day that Ann was born. Ann was 22 years old last birthday, and he was 22 years.
So
he
about
died.
1963.
About that, I couldn't figure that in my head now.
Yeah.
Because I know that I was over there taking care of Mary's household while she had Ann in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And I went over, and this night about almost 7 o'clock, in walked Betty. And she sat down. She didn't have very much to say. She said after a while, she said, Mom, she said, I got some bad news to tell you. I said, what is it, Betty? She said, Uncle George died today.
Do we know how he died?
He just took
Heart attack?
a minor shock or something like that there. I know he was buried from Quincy, and I can remember I come home that night. I called up Mary, and Mary come home that night. She was working down to the restaurants, you know, down where Philip had
Down
the
Phil's place,
restaurant.
yeah, the heart side.
And yes, and
So old Albert worked for the Canadian Railroad right now?
he worked for.
Canadian Pacific, right?
I can't tell you. No, the
CPR.
CPR. He worked for that from when he was about in his teens until just a few months, you know. To me, it is probably
Till he retired, right? And,
till he retired, and I don't know. He worked till he was 70 years old
yeah.
in there because he had a very good job there. He got big money. They used to send him down to the hotel down in Nova Scotia. He had charge of the books and everything down there, and he always had a good job. He always kept up his shorthand.
Yeah.
Always. And they're in demand lots of times. You know, when people don't take that, he took shorthand and typing, and he was smart. Albert was really smart, and a wonderful piano player. Oh
yeah?
boy, could he play the piano! He used to play all around everywhere. In fact, he played in the movies one time for I don't know how many years until they closed the moving picture place down, and that's when he went to. He sang in a quartet. My father sang in a quartet, and my mother had a beautiful voice too. And Papa used to play the organ, play the organ we had in the house, and sing. He sang in a quartet, and he sang in the choir in church. He was a
Talented
one of
boy.
the best men, and Roy said he was the best man I ever met in all my whole life. That's what he told me, the last words he told me.
Yeah.
And that was the last Christmas that he was here, and he died next. Joe, I was going to ask you a dozen times, didn't you stay with him 2 days before he went to the hospital that time?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you did. I'd think of it lots of times. I said, my memory holds me good, you took him to the hospital. They came in there to take an X-ray of him or something, and they took him to the hospital. Right. And how I come to meet him, I never was boy crazy. I never run around with the boys. I done nothing but crochet and knit and do Mexican work and everything all my life. That's what I done. All my I could do them with. I had all my underwear Mexican work.
What do you call that? What is that? Mexican?
Mexican work.
What is that?
You done it on a thing, and you pulled the threads all out, all the ones that went this way, and left all these here.
I thought you were importing some things from
I'm
Mexico.
telling you, I had the best underwear of anybody in Maryville. You never saw anything in your life.
I never did, Nana.
I could make everything. I hooked rugs. I done everything. I never went out. I never ran around. And
But you did.
You know when I met him, might as well tell you that. I went on my second case after I graduated from the hospital. First case I met Dr. Giroux, and I was in the hospital. I was coming to get my clothes, and he said, "Just who I'm looking for." And I said, he said, "I got a case for you down in Minto. That's where there's coal mines down there." He said, he's got the pneumonia, and he says, I want you to go. And I said, I can't go. I said, I haven't got any clothes to take. I said, I hadn't taken my clothes out of the hospital, and I said, I've just come here now to get my clothes. He said, well, I want you to go get on the train and go down. And I had my uniforms, and I went down, and I stayed a week, and he got better.
Now,
And I came up,
this
and
was
I come
just a
back,
patient?
what?
This was just a guy who was sick?
Oh, yeah, he was somebody that worked in the mines,
Oh.
was manager of the mines or something like that there.
Okay.
And I came up that Saturday. I was just down there a week. That was my first week's wage. I come home, I come up there, and I ran across Dr. Giroux again. He's already looking for me. And he said, I got a case for you, and I want you to go today. I said, Dr. Giroux, I haven't got a stitch of clothes to wear. I said, I cannot go. He said, well, he says, I'll send for you tomorrow. Go home tonight and get your clothes. And he says, I will let you, I said, where is it? He said, up in Douglas. I said, Douglas? I had heard of Douglas, but I never saw it in my life. And he says, I'll send somebody for you tomorrow. And it was in March, and a lot of snow on the ground. And he sent Duncan Christensen down for me. That was my Roy's sister and daughter-in-law, and he sent him down with a sleigh and a horse for me on Sunday morning. And I got up at noon hour, and I landed up to Hawkins's. when I got up there, Wilbur had been in the hospital and had his arm operated on. It had gone from the joint here out.
Oh, dislocated?
Yes, wasn't exactly dislocated, but it was just on a string or something. It had to be put back in. Well, I had to take care of the two of them. I said, well, how on earth, the father, the brother lived just over the gully, we always called it. There was a little bridge went across the water, went down the river. And I said, well, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. He says, you're going to go tomorrow morning. I'm sending Duncan for you, sending somebody for you. Duncan come for me Sunday around noon hour with a horse and sleigh. So I went up there, and I landed there at noon hour. And when I got there were 7 boys in that house, and one that lived there half the time. And I said, well, how can I take care of the two of them? Oh, he said, they'll haul you back and forth on the sled. He was so funny, Dr. Giroux was. So I took care of him in the daytime, and I took care of Lou. She had had a baby and had puerile septicemia. And anyway, she come back up there. He come up, and then I go over there every night and take care of Wilbur and do his dressing on his arm. And then I'd go back up there. And in the meantime, Roy was home then. His father was a lumberman, see? And Roy was home. This was in March, because the lumber woods was closed then. He come home, and in the meantime, they only was home about a week. All the boys used to, go. So Lloyd and Wilbur, they went to, Lloyd and Wilbur, they would come up to the States. They decided they was going to come up to the States. There was nothing down there for them to do. The lumber woods was all closed, so they come up here. But Roy was the only one that stayed home, because Wilbur was a lot younger. And Arnold was still younger still. He was only about 12 years old when I got married. 12 or 13 or 14, along there somewhere. And I stayed there 5 weeks. And there was nobody home there, and only the 2 kids and Roy. Nell Sinnott, the only sister they had, she was the second the oldest. She just died last December. It'll be a year this December since she died. She come up here when she was real young, and she never went back home to live, only to visit. She stayed up here. And I don't know, there was nobody there but him and I. He was over to his mother's house, and I'd go up over there every night, and he'd take me back we had to go down the little bridge and over to the house to take care of Lou, because I was up there for 5 weeks taking care of her. And she had Elsie, a baby. She had septicemia, and they blamed it on the doctor. So anyhow, so I don't know. When he'd go away, he'd write to me or call me up and everything. And we got real chummy that 5 weeks I was there. And then I got a call, and I had to go to Fredericton. And for that time, they never put the cars on the road until about March. They never put the cars on the road there because there was so much snow down there, they didn't do it. And I remember the first time he come down there, I was nursing at this woman. She had cancer, and I was there about 5 weeks. And he come down this night with the car. They just put it on the road and got it and took me home. Took me up home to my house. And the first time
This is Roy.
he and our house on.
Yeah, right.
And I don't know, we kept going together. He'd come down with the car and take me up, but he never could catch me anywhere, for I was always on a case someplace. I bet if I had a week home between the case, I was lucky if I had a week home. That's how busy I was.
Were you impressed by the car, Lena?
What?
Were you impressed by the car?
No, they had a 7 passenger. No, I wasn't. I was just to get someplace. I was so sick and tired of staying in the house. They had a 7 passenger Chandler. That's the car they had, Chandler.
Yeah.
And they had just put it on the road, and he came down and got me. He took me home that night. And I remember Lottie was up there with her first baby, Bobby.
Yeah.
She's visiting Papa. See, Mama had died in the meantime, and and she was up there. I don't know what she come up there for. I guess keeping company for a while or something. And maybe I wouldn't see him again for, well, maybe 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
When the car got good, that patient died, and I went right on another one. He never could find me. I was always someplace. I nursed all over everywhere, upon my word. I was a business person, and I was just going from one place to another all the time. And then,
When did you decide that you wanted to get married, or you got engaged?
oh, no, I was engaged before I went to England. I had a diamond.
I don't, what made you decide to marry Roy?
I don't know. I got kind of attached to him some way
Did
or
you?
other. It's about the first boyfriend I ever had in my life.
Really?
Yeah. You know what I mean? I had the ones that would write to me, and I'd write back and forth to them and send them a letter. Didn't mean anything to me. I was so busy crocheting and knitting and doing everything. I didn't have time to bother with the boys. Up there, I had nothing to do.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I got attached to him.
Yeah.
Some way or other. And I think he took me to some kind of a big picnic in the summertime. I had a weekend off, and I stayed up there all night. And up to his mother and father's house, and that was where I ended up living for 3 or 4 years before I come up here.
This is in Douglas?
I was in March at then, and then that first year Papa and I went to, but I still clung to Papa. I had no mother, and my sisters was all married, and the boys was away. I hung on to my father.
Yeah.
And he'd say, will you go this place? Yeah, I go. Sure, I had the money to go.
Yeah.
So we went over to England, as I say, and stayed. He was dying to go. He hadn't been home for 30 years. He hadn't seen any of his sisters and brothers, and you can imagine the difference in them in 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And this was around 1922,
And then
right?
he come home from the woods. He was running a lumber camp for his father. That's the reason. But the boys stayed up here in the States.
Oh, this is Roy now.
But Roy was managing that last year, the last 2 years that I knew him. He was in the woods, and I was way off in a case someplace. We used to write 2 letters a week to each other. I've got every one of the letters in the bag in there. I got 50 letters in there. And all the ones he wrote to me before we was married, I burned the other day. It broke my heart to...
Why'd you do that?
Because I didn't want them hanging around.
Yeah.
And I've got a whole bag in here of after we got married, because he never was home and I never was home. I'm telling you.
So when you were going to England...
So he come home for a week for Christmas, so we decided we'd get married.
Yeah.
So we were supposed to get married at a fire station town, and
Now, this is after you get back from England, right?
this is after I got back from England. I come back in October from England, and this is
Yeah.
after. I met one fellow up there that gave me that there China set down there, but that's as far as he got with me. He brought me a China set.
Up in England, you mean?
In England.
Oh, really?
Sure. He had a drugstore. He was the only child. He had a drugstore of his own.
Wow.
I couldn't see anybody but Roy then.
Yeah. Because you were engaged.
What?
Because you were engaged.
Yeah. I wouldn't. I was wearing a diamond, and I wasn't that kind of a person.
Mhm.
So anyhow, we got married on Christmas Day. He was home for a week, and he had a lot of shopping to do between that first part of the week. And Christmas Day came on Tuesday. And you know where we got married? We ended up getting married at the Hawkins' house.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We didn't invite anybody, but you never saw such a daddy, you know. I think everybody in Douglas was up to that wedding.
Oh, yeah?
That's sorry.
That was in 1923.
And then he was home 2 days, and he went back to the woods again.
Yeah.
And then he stayed up the woods, and now he came back the next weekend. And the next weekend, he came down in February. He came down in February. And then he went on getting the lumber ready to get her away.
Mhm.
I don't know.
So what year is this down here?
It was 1925.
23.
23. And Betty was born in 1925. May
Yeah.
25.
Really?
Jerry's born.
Yeah, well, she was born up in Douglas, Betty.
She was born in Douglas, I was married in Douglas, and she was born in Douglas.
Yeah.
That's the reason she loved it down there.
Yeah.
She lived there till she was 6 years old before Philip was born. She was 6 years old when Philip was born. And the next year after I had her.
Now, when did you come down here? When did you come down to Randolph?
I come down to Randolph about 4 years after. But he come down, I'll tell you how he come to get up here at that time. He, the girl, they had, Roy was a very good mechanic, a very good mechanic. He always fixed cars down around there. He could do anything with an automobile. And he came, the boys came down this summer. Lloyd and Arnold, no, not Arnold, Lloyd and Carl were there, and Wilbur was still at home. They came down and they wanted to they came down and Roy, they wanted him to come up. They had some work to be done on both of the cars, and they thought they'd take him up and let them do it, you know. It'd be a change for him, one thing or another.
Yeah.
So I said to him when he went, he wasn't going to stay any length of time. He was kind of working up there, and I said he kind of liked it up here, and I said, well, he said, the boy said, would I let him go? I said, yes, if he stays. I said, if he gets a job and stays here.
Yeah.
I was tired. 4 years, 3 years I've been living at Hawkins, and you get tired of living in the house with somebody else. So he stayed out. He came down, he sent for me in October, and Betty and I went up. And when we got up, I got Betty's, all her papers, immigration papers and mine and everything. But Roy had been up there before, and he had his visa to go up, see?
Yeah.
And, but he didn't get it through the immigration, see? He could stay so long.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, Betty and I, we got ready. He sent for us. We went. And we got on the train. And when we got to Vanceboro, they asked about my husband. And I said, well, he was up here. And they said, was he went through immigration? I said, I don't know. I said, he had a visa paper or whatever you call it. And he said, well, he has to, there was new papers that was coming out about that time. You know, that people could come up here. But before, they could only stay so many months, and then they had to come back. You understand it, I don't understand it. Well, anyhow, he come down, and they sent for him. He had to come down and get his immigration papers. So they took me off the train, Betty and I. We slept in the station house all night long. They had a room upstairs that people could stay. They stayed there all night, and he come on the next train down and met me at the station. Of course, the immigration there knew why I was there, you know, on account of that. So anyway, he come down, and he picked me up, and we went down to Lil's, down in St. John, and he went to the immigration down there, and he got his immigration papers. And that's how we got up here, because then Betty and I come up. And I moved 9 times after I come up here before I moved in this house.
And you remember when you moved into this house?
I remember I had Betty 6 years. Betty was the 3rd grade in school.
Yeah.
Betty was the 3rd grade. She was down in Canada. Every summer, every winter, Mrs. Hawkins would come up here to stay a spell, and she always took Betty back with her.
Yeah.
She always took her back.
This is Roy's mother?
Well, Roy's mother, she was Nana.
Yeah.
That's, you know, the house, you've been there. And she come up, she used to go down there every summer, and then every summer she'd take her down there.
Yeah.
And, or else if she didn't, I'd go too. I went on the train, and I went on the boat down to Canada once, from Boston down on the boat down to St. John. Down and back when Roy was busy in the garage, and you know what I mean.
Yeah. Before you start talking about living around here, can you tell me more about your sisters and brothers?
Well, what do you want to know? Ask me something.
Tell me about George. He was the oldest one, right?
George, yeah. Well, he spent most of his time in the Navy, in the service.
Yeah.
He wasn't drafted in, but he would have been drafted in. Because he went in from the war. He went in the first contingent of Canadians that went to France.
Yeah.
He was the first one.
And how old was he? He was only
He
6
was
months
about
older than you, so.
No, he was quite old then. He was in his past his teens. He must have been 20 because he worked in St. John for 2 or 3 years. That's where he met Lottie.
Yeah.
She went to business college too.
Yeah.
And but that's where he met her.
Now, wasn't he wounded in the